The UK shipping sector transports 95% of the UK's trade around the world, and it's an essential part of our economy. It's also highly polluting, producing around 1/5 of the UK's transport greenhouse gas emissions every year. According to the Climate Change Committee, the UK has no credible policies to eliminate those emissions in line with the requirements of the carbon budgets. For decades, the shipping sector has benefited from unfair tax breaks. Shipping fuel is untaxed and no charges made on shipping's greenhouse gas emissions. This means that effectively the taxpayer is subsidising the shipping sector by millions of pounds every single day. This has led to ever-increasing use of fossil fuels and very little investment in the zero-emission alternative technologies that are so desperately needed. No other highly polluting sector of the economy is subsidised in this way. Despite the climate emergency, the government has done almost nothing about this. The government's main proposal is to include a small amount of UK shipping emissions within the United Kingdom Emissions Trading Scheme, or UK ETS. The ETS works by limiting emissions across the economy, and companies have to buy allowances to cover their emissions each year. For shipping, the ETS proposal is highly unfair. It would exempt 90% of UK shipping emissions, and at the same time it would increase costs for small domestic ship operators whilst exempting the large international shipping companies that are responsible for most of the emissions. These companies benefit from economies of scale, meaning they're better able to absorb the ETS costs. They're also highly profitable, which simply reinforces the unfairness. So what needs to happen? The UK needs to include its fair share of shipping emissions in the ETS. That means domestic and half of international emissions. The European Union already does this for its own shipping emissions under its own ETS. If the government does this, it could generate over £1 billion a year in revenues for the UK. It would also align the UK with the European Union on this policy, which is exactly what the Climate Change Committee recommends. The government could also ring-fence the money and direct it into the development of much-needed clean and zero-emission maritime technologies, such as renewable hydrogen. This would bring jobs and prosperity to the UK. The 7 million tonnes of filthy fossil fuels that the UK shipping sector uses every year have to be replaced with clean and zero-emission alternatives. But because of the subsidies the industry receives, those alternatives are currently very expensive. And without regulation or a business case to use them, the market simply will not deliver the changes that are needed. We need to see a visionary policy framework from the government, and ending the shipping sector's unfair subsidies is a great place to start. The UK government can now make this happen by putting a proper price on shipping pollution, investing in the UK, and building the industries that we need to make shipping green. We can't afford to let this opportunity pass.